The acceptance letter from Harvard lay hidden in my dresser drawer as I watched my parents fawn over my sister Emma's community college enrollment forms. They didn't know that in 3 hours, when the admissions office called to confirm my attendance, they would learn what they had thrown away. They didn't know that this time, I wouldn't save them from themselves. I had lived this day before. In my previous life, I had rushed to show them the crimson envelope the moment it arrived, my hands trembling with excitement. My mother had glanced at it for exactly 2 seconds before tossing it aside. "Stop showing off, Madison. Your sister is struggling enough without you rubbing your success in her face." My father hadn't even looked up from his newspaper. That was the beginning of the end, the day I learned that no achievement would ever be enough to earn their love. But I had been given a second chance. When I woke up 3 months ago, back in my 17-year-old body with all my memories intact, I knew exactly what was coming. Every betrayal, every act of sabotage, every moment they would choose Emma over me. This time, I would let them. The morning sun streamed through our kitchen windows, illuminating the chaos of Emma's last-minute college paperwork scattered across the table. My mother, Patricia, bent over the forms with the dedication she never showed to my achievements, while my father, Robert, wrote yet another check to cover Emma's application fees. Neither of them noticed me standing in the doorway observing the scene I had lived before. "Don't worry, sweetheart," my mother cooed to Emma, who was sprawled dramatically across the couch. "We'll make sure you get into Riverside Community College. It's not your fault that the SATs are biased against creative minds like yours." Emma had scored a 900. I had scored a perfect 1600, but mentioning that would only earn me a lecture about being insensitive. In my first life, I had tried everything to earn their approval. I maintained a 4.0 GPA while working 2 jobs to pay for my own SAT prep courses. I won science fairs, debate championships, and writing contests. I volunteered at the hospital, tutored underprivileged kids, and still came home to cook dinner when my mother claimed she was too tired from shopping with Emma. None of it mattered. The breaking point had come when I was 25. I had just been promoted to the youngest department head in my company's history when Emma called, hysterical, claiming she needed $50,000 for an investment opportunity. My parents demanded I give her my entire savings, the down payment for my first home. When I refused, they disowned me. The stress triggered a heart condition I didn't know I had. 3 weeks later, I died alone in my apartment. My parents too busy consoling Emma over her latest failure to attend my funeral. But the universe had given me something unprecedented, a second chance. With all my memories intact, I woke, up 3 months before my 18th birthday, 3 months before the Harvard letter, with perfect knowledge of everything that would happen. Every stock that would soar, every lottery number that would hit, every opportunity that would arise. More importantly, I knew every trick Emma would pull, every lie my parents would believe, and every moment they would fail me. This time would be different. "Madison, stop lurking and help your sister," my mother snapped without looking up. "She needs support, not your judgment." I stepped into the kitchen, my expression carefully neutral. "Of course, Mother. What does Emma need?" Emma lifted her head from the couch, her perfectly styled blonde hair falling in waves that had cost $300 at the salon yesterday, money taken from my college fund without my knowledge. In my first life, I hadn't discovered that theft until it was too late. "I need you to write my application essay," she demanded. "You're good at that boring stuff." "I'm afraid I can't," I replied calmly. "That would be plagiarism." My mother's head snapped up. "How dare you refuse to help your sister? She's family." "Helping and cheating are different things," I said. "I'm sure Emma can write about her own experiences. Perhaps she could discuss her Instagram influencer career?" Emma flushed. Her career consisted of posting selfies and having our parents buy her followers. She had 12,000 followers and an engagement rate of 0.01%. "You're just jealous," Emma spat. "Not everyone needs to be a boring bookworm like you." In my previous life, that comment would have hurt. Now knowing that in 10 years Emma would be arrested for fraud while I would be running a Fortune 500 company, if I played my cards right this time, it barely registered. "Madison, apologize to your sister immediately," my father commanded, finally looking up from his checkbook. and you will write that essay. Emma's future is at stake. My apologies, Emma, I said smoothly. I hope your application goes well. I turned to leave, but my mother's voice stopped me. Where do you think you're going? We're having a family meeting about Emma's future. I have a shift at the library, I lied. Actually, I was meeting with my guidance counselor to ensure all my college documents were properly filed, without my parents' knowledge. Your minimum wage job is more important than your sister? My father's voice dripped with disgust. This is exactly why Emma struggles. You never support her. If only they knew. In my first life, I had discovered that Emma's struggles were carefully orchestrated. She was perfectly capable of academic success. I had found her hidden report cards from middle school before she learned that playing dumb got her more attention and money from our parents. She had been a straight A student until she realized being a victim was more profitable. I'll be back in 2 hours, I said. Don't bother coming back unless you're ready to help your sister properly, my mother warned. I left without responding. The guidance counselor, Ms. Peterson, was waiting for me in her office, a knowing smile on her face. She was one of the few adults who saw through my family's dynamics. Madison, I have wonderful news, she beamed, pulling out a thick folder. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, they all want you. Full scholarships to everyone. In my first life, I had only applied to Harvard, putting all my eggs in one basket. This time, I had applied everywhere, using fee waivers so my parents wouldn't know. I had also opened my own P.O. box and had all correspondence sent there. Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. Could you do me a favor? If any of the schools call my home, could you tell them to only speak with me directly? She frowned. That's unusual, Madison. Don't your parents want to celebrate with you? They're very focused on Emma's applications right now, I said carefully. I don't want to distract from her process. Mrs. Peterson's expression told me she understood more than I was saying. Of course, dear. I'll make a note in your file. I spent the next hour going through acceptance letters, scholarship offers, and housing applications. Every school wanted me. In my first life, Harvard had been my dream. This time I was considering Stanford, 3,000 miles away from my family, far enough that surprise visits would be impossible. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Mom and Dad are furious. You better come home with an apology in my essay. I ignored it and walked to the bank instead. In my previous life, I hadn't known that my parents had access to my savings account until they emptied it to pay for Emma's third attempt at community college. This time, I had quietly opened my own account at 18, transferring my money bit by bit. Today, I would move the last of it. I'd like to transfer my entire balance and close this account, I told the teller, handing over my information. The account with your parents as co-signers? She confirmed. You'll need their permission to… Actually, I turned 18 last month, I interrupted, sliding my ID across the counter. According to state law, I can remove co-signers from my account or close it entirely once I'm of legal age. The teller looked surprised but checked her computer. You're correct. Let me process that for you. 20 minutes later, I walked out with a cashier's check for $12,000, every penny I'd saved from 3 years of tutoring, working at the library, and winning academic competitions. In 2 days, Emma would convince our parents to access my account to pay for her spring break trip to Cabo. They would find it empty. My phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I recognized from my previous life. Harvard Admissions. Hello, Ms. Chen. This is Director Johnson from Harvard Admissions. I'm calling to personally congratulate you on your acceptance and to discuss your presidential scholarship. Thank you, Director Johnson. I'm honored. We're calling all our top admits today to ensure they have everything they need for fall enrollment. Your achievements are remarkable. Perfect SATs, valedictorian, published research, and your essay about overcoming family adversity was deeply moving. In my essay, I had written about growing up in a household where love was conditional and success was punished. I hadn't mentioned names, but every word was true. I do have one concern, Director Johnson continued. We called your home first, but your mother said you hadn't applied to Harvard. She seemed quite upset. My blood ran cold. They had called early. I see. Thank you for reaching me directly. Ms. Chen, is everything all right? We want to ensure you can attend without any complications. Everything is fine. I'll be there in the fall. After hanging up, I ran home, knowing the storm that awaited me. Sure enough, my parents were in the living room, Emma between them, all three wearing matching expressions of fury. Harvard called, my mother said, her voice deadly quiet. Imagine my humiliation when they asked for you, talking about some scholarship. I told them they must be mistaken, that you would never apply without telling us. But you did, didn't you? My father stood, his face red. Asain, you went behind our backs. I applied to college, I said calmly. That's what high school seniors do. Without telling us? Without including us? My mother's voice rose. And Harvard? Do you know what this will do to Emma's self-esteem? Emma burst into theatrical tears. I knew you were trying to show me up. You've always hated me. You will call them back immediately and decline, my father ordered. You're going to Riverside Community College with Emma. She needs support, and you need to learn about family loyalty. In my first life, I had caved. The guilt, the lifetime of conditioning had broken me. I had called Harvard back and declined. The admissions director's shock and disappointment haunting me for years. I had spent 2 years at community college, working full-time to pay for Emma's expenses while she partied. By the time I finally transferred to a state school, Emma had convinced our parents that I was abandoning the family. They had made my life hell for daring to pursue my education. Not this time. No, I said simply. The room went silent. In 18 years, I had never directly defied them. What did you say? My mother whispered. I said no, I'm going to Harvard. I've accepted their offer. Emma's tears stopped instantly, replaced by rage. You can't! I'm the older sister. If anyone goes to Harvard, it should be me. You didn't apply to Harvard, Emma. You didn't even take the SATs seriously. Because you stole all the intelligence in the family, she screamed. It's not fair. Everything comes so easy to you. Easy? I wanted to laugh. Nothing had been easy. Every achievement had been earned through sacrifice and pain, studying by candlelight when they refused to pay the electricity bill for my room, walking to school in torn shoes because Emma needed designer boots, teaching myself calculus from library books because they wouldn't pay for my AP courses. You will decline, or you're no longer welcome in this house, my father threatened. In my previous life, this threat had destroyed me. But now I knew something they didn't. I had already secured housing at Harvard. I had already arranged everything. Then I'll pack my things, I replied. My mother gasped. You would choose a school over your family? You're choosing Emma over me. You always have. That's different. Emma needs us. And I don't? You're too independent, my mother said dismissively. You've never needed anyone. Emma is fragile. Fragile. Emma, who had manipulated them for years. Emma, who in my previous life would embezzle from their retirement funds and leave them bankrupt. Emma, who would abandon them in a nursing home the moment they became inconvenient. If I'm so independent, then you won't miss me, I said, heading for the stairs. My father grabbed my arm. If you walk up those stairs, you're dead to us. We'll cut you off completely. No money, no support, nothing. You've never given me money or support anyway, I pointed out. My college fund went to Emma's shopping sprees. My savings account was drained for her car. My birthday money became her spring break funds. What exactly are you cutting me off from? His grip tightened. You ungrateful. Let her go, Emma interrupted, smirking. When she fails and comes crawling back, we won't take her. She'll learn what it's like to be truly alone. My father released me. Emma's right, go. But when Harvard realizes you're nothing special and kicks you out, don't come crying to us. I went to my room and packed methodically. Everything important was already in a storage unit I had rented. I only took clothes, my laptop, and the Harvard acceptance letter I had hidden. As I packed, I could hear them downstairs, comforting Emma, telling her she was the only daughter they needed. Before leaving, I stopped at Emma's room. Under her mattress, exactly where I knew it would be, was her diary. In my previous life, I had found it after my death and rebirth. It detailed every manipulation, every lie, every scheme she had pulled. She had written about how easy it was to control our parents, how stupid they were, how she would inherit everything once she got rid of me. I photographed every page. Then I went to my father's office. In his locked drawer, the combination hadn't changed from my previous life, were documents he thought I'd never see. Papers showing that my grandmother had left me a trust fund that they had hidden from me. Documents proving they had stolen my identity to take out credit cards. Evidence of their financial crimes that in my previous life they had pinned on me when the authorities finally caught up. I photographed everything. As I walked downstairs with my suitcase, they didn't even look at me. They were gathered around Emma, planning a shopping trip to make her feel better about my betrayal. "Goodbye," I said from the doorway. Only my mother glanced over. "When you're homeless and desperate, remember this moment. Remember that you chose this." I left without another word. Mrs. Peterson was waiting outside in her car, having agreed to drive me to the bus station. As we pulled away, I didn't look back at the house that had never been a home. "Are you sure about this, Madison?" she asked gently. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." The bus ride to Cambridge took 12 hours. I used the time to plan my next moves. In my previous life, I had learned that 3 months after I started at Harvard, my parents would try to claim me as a dependent on their taxes for the education credit, even though they hadn't paid a cent. This time, I had already filed my own taxes as an independent. They would get audited instead. I also knew that Emma would try to follow me to Harvard, claiming she was visiting her beloved sister. In reality, she would try to seduce my professors and steal my research. This time, I had already filed a no-contact order with campus security. Harvard was everything I had dreamed of, and more. My dorm room was small, but mine. My roommate, Jennifer, was a genius who had escaped her own toxic family. We understood each other immediately. "First family disappointment?" she asked, noting my single suitcase. "Last one," I corrected. "You?" "Told my parents I was studying medicine. I'm actually in theoretical physics. They think science is for men." We bonded over late-night study sessions and shared dreams of success. Jennifer would become my best friend, and in this life, I would make sure she didn't drop out due to family pressure like she had in my previous timeline. 2 weeks into the semester, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Madison, you need to come home immediately. Emma is having a crisis." "What kind of crisis?" "She's depressed about you abandoning her. She hasn't left her room in days. This is your fault." In my previous life, I had rushed home, missing a crucial networking event. Emma had been fine, of course. It was a manipulation to sabotage my success. This time, I knew better. "I hope she feels better soon. Has she considered therapy?" "Therapy? How dare you suggest Emma needs therapy? You're the one who needs help abandoning your family for some fancy school." "I have to go, Mom. I have class." "Don't you dare hang up on—" I hung up. The calls continued daily. First guilt, then anger, then threats. I stopped answering. They tried contacting the university, claiming I was mentally unstable and needed to be sent home. The dean called me in, concerned. "Your parents have made some serious allegations," Dean Martinez said, carefully. I pulled out my phone and showed her the diary photos. My sister wrote about her plans to have me committed to steal my inheritance. My parents are participants. The dean's expression went from concerned to horrified as she read. "Madison, have you spoken to anyone about this?" "I'm handling it. I just need the university to know that any communication from my family should be disregarded." "Consider it done. And Madison, we have counseling services available." I took her advice and started therapy. Dr. Kim helped me process years of abuse and manipulation. She also helped me understand that my rebirth, whether real or a vivid dream during a near-death experience, had given me the clarity to escape. Meanwhile, I excelled in my classes. My economics professor, Dr. Harrison, was particularly impressed with my intuitive understanding of market trends. If only he knew I was using my knowledge of future events to make perfect predictions. I'd already turned my $12,000 into $50,000 through carefully timed investments. 3 months into the semester, I received an unexpected call from my Aunt Sarah, my mother's estranged sister. Madison, I heard about what happened with your parents. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner. Aunt Sarah had been cut off from the family years ago for suggesting Emma needed discipline. In my previous life, I had never contacted her, believing my parents' lies about her being unstable. It's okay, Aunt Sarah. I'm doing well. I know this is sudden, but I've been following your achievements from afar. I'm so proud of you. I want you to know you have family who loves you. We talked for hours. She told me the truth about why she had been banished. She had caught Emma stealing from my grandmother and told my parents. They had chosen to believe Emma's lies instead. She also confirmed what I had suspected. My grandmother had left me money specifically because she saw how I was treated. Your grandmother knew your parents would favor Emma. She wanted to ensure you had a chance at independence. They hid the trust fund from me. I'm not surprised. Madison, you need a lawyer. I already had one. Using my future knowledge, I had contacted Jennifer's older brother, Michael, who, in my previous life, would become a legendary attorney. He was currently a law student, but brilliant and eager for experience. Your parents committed fraud, he told me after reviewing the documents. We can file criminal charges or pursue a civil case. Civil, I want my trust fund and damages for the credit cards they took out in my name. This could get ugly. They're your parents. They stopped being my parents the day they chose Emma's wants over my needs. The lawsuit was filed quietly. My parents didn't know until they were served. The process server told me later that my mother had fainted and my father had thrown a vase. Emma had screamed about me being a traitor. They tried, calling me hundreds of times. I didn't answer. They sent emails, texts, letters, all went to my lawyer. They tried showing up at Harvard, but security turned them away. They posted on social media about their ungrateful daughter, but I had already blocked them everywhere. Then Emma made a mistake. She posted a video ranting about me, accidentally revealing that she had been recording our parents' conversations about hiding my trust fund. She thought it made her look sympathetic. Instead, it became evidence. My lawyer was ecstatic. This is a confession. We've got them. The case moved quickly after that. My parents' lawyer advised them to settle. The choice was simple: return my trust fund plus damages or face criminal fraud charges. During this time, I thrived at Harvard. I joined the investment club and turned my $50,000 into $200,000 by predicting a tech startup's success. I published research papers knowing exactly which topics would gain traction. I networked with people who in my previous life had become industry leaders. Jennifer noticed my uncanny ability to predict trends. It's like you have a crystal ball. Just good instincts, I replied, helping her invest her small savings in what I knew would become the next Amazon. Spring semester brought unexpected news. Emma had been arrested for shoplifting. Without my parents' ability to bail her out, their assets were frozen due to our lawsuit. She spent 3 nights in jail. The mugshot went viral at her community college. My phone rang. It was my father. Please, Madison, we need your help. Emma needs bail money. I thought I was dead to you. We were angry. We didn't mean it. You're still our daughter. No, I'm the daughter you threw away for Emma. Let her figure it out herself. After all, I'm too independent to need family, right? How can you be so cruel? I learned from the best. Emma eventually got out, but the arrest triggered an investigation into her Instagram. Turns out she had been scamming followers with fake sponsorships. More charges were filed. My parents hired a lawyer for Emma, draining their retirement savings. They lost the house trying to pay for her defense. The irony was beautiful. In my previous life, they had lost everything, because of Emma too, but had blamed me for not giving them money. The settlement conference for my lawsuit came in May. My parents looked haggard, aged 10 years and 10 months. Emma was with them, wearing an ankle monitor from her latest arrest. $2 million, my lawyer stated. The trust fund plus interest, damages for credit fraud, and emotional distress. We don't have $2 million, my mother cried. Then we go to trial. Criminal charges will be filed. You could face prison time. My father looked at me desperately. Madison, please, we're sorry. We made mistakes, but we're family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't abandon each other. Family doesn't choose one child over another. We were trying to help Emma. By destroying me? Emma couldn't contain herself anymore. You were always the favorite. Grandma left you money. You got into Harvard. Everything always went your way. Because I worked for it. Work? Emma laughed bitterly. You think you're special because you studied? Anyone can study. I chose to live life instead. And where did that get you? An ankle monitor and fraud charges? She lunged at me, but the bailiff restrained her. As they dragged her out, she screamed, I wish you had never been born. You ruined everything. My parents didn't even defend me. They just looked tired. We settled for the trust fund amount plus damages, $1.3 million. My parents had to sell everything, declare bankruptcy, and move into a small apartment. Emma got 5 years probation for her various frauds. As I left the courthouse, my Aunt Sarah was waiting. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself, she said, hugging me. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like justice. Sometimes they're the same thing. I returned to Harvard and threw myself into my studies. Summer brought internships at companies I knew would explode in value. I made connections with future CEOs, learned from those who would become legends in their fields. My investments grew exponentially. By sophomore year, I was worth $10 million. Jennifer, following my advice, had turned her $5,000 into $500,000. We moved into a luxury apartment off campus. You're like a financial wizard, she marveled as another of my predictions came true. Just lucky, I said, knowing that my luck was actually knowledge from a life already lived. Junior year brought unexpected news. My mother had contacted my Aunt Sarah, begging for my contact information. She was sick. Cancer. In my previous life, she had hidden it from everyone until it was too late. This time, it was caught early, but treatment was expensive. I won't give her your information without your permission, Aunt Sarah assured me. I thought for a long time. In my previous life, I had spent my last dollar on her treatment, only to have her curse me with her dying breath for not doing more. But I wasn't the same person anymore. Tell her I'll pay for the treatment, but I want no contact. The bills can go directly to my lawyer. That's very generous, considering everything. I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it for me. So I can sleep at night knowing I was better than they were. The treatment was successful. My mother survived. She sent letters thanking me, begging for forgiveness. I never read them. They went straight to a box in my lawyer's office. Emma, meanwhile, violated her probation by running another scam. This time, she got 2 years in prison. My father, alone and broken, reached out through my aunt. He says he understands now, Aunt Sarah told me. Seeing Emma in prison, your mother sick, losing Baita, everything. He realizes they bet on the wrong daughter. It's too late for understanding. He's not asking for money or forgiveness. He just wanted you to know. Senior year at Harvard was bittersweet. I had job offers from every major firm, but I had already decided to start my own company. With my future knowledge, I knew exactly what gaps in the market to target. Jennifer was my first hire. VP of Technology for a company that doesn't exist yet? Trust me, I said. In 5 years, we'll be bigger than Google. She laughed but accepted. She had learned to trust my instincts. Graduation day was perfect. Aunt Sarah sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face. Jennifer's family had adopted me as their own, her parents treating me like a second daughter. My found family celebrated what my blood family had tried to destroy. As I walked across the stage to receive my diploma, summa cum laude, valedictorian, with honors, I saw them. My parents and Emma standing at the back of the auditorium. They looked older, smaller, diminished. Security moved to escort them out, but I shook my head. Let them see. Let them witness what I had achieved without them, despite them. My mother was crying. My father stood stoic. Emma looked bitter, even in her cheap dress and premature gray hair from prison. I accepted my diploma, smiled for the photos, and walked off the stage into my future. They tried to approach at the reception, but Jennifer's brothers formed a protective wall. Please, my mother called out. Just 1 minute. Just let me say I'm sorry. I turned to face them one last time. You're sorry because you're facing consequences. You're sorry because Emma became exactly what you raised her to be, a narcissist who destroyed your lives. You're sorry because the daughter you threw away succeeded while the one you chose failed. But you're not sorry for what you did to me. You're sorry for what happened to you. That's not true, my father protested. We loved you. No, you loved the idea of me being lesser than Emma. When I threatened that narrative, you tried to destroy me. But I survived, I thrived, and I did it without you. Emma pushed forward. You destroyed our family. You destroyed our family the day you decided being a victim was easier than being a person, and they destroyed it by enabling you. We could start over, my mother pleaded. Be a family again. We were never a family. You were Emma's enablers, and I was an inconvenience. Now you're nothing to me. I walked away, Jennifer and her family surrounding me with the love my birth family never gave. Behind me, I heard Emma screaming, my mother sobbing, my father begging. But their voices faded as I walked toward my future. 5 years later, my company went public at a valuation of $3 billion. I was on the cover of Forbes as the youngest self-made billionaire in history. Jennifer and I had built something extraordinary, using my knowledge of future trends and her genius to create products that revolutionized the industry. I received a letter that day from my father. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Madison, I know you'll never forgive us, and I don't ask for forgiveness. Emma is in prison again, this time for 10 years. Your mother's cancer has returned. We are facing eviction. I don't write this to ask for help. I write to tell you that you were right. We destroyed our own family by choosing wrong. Emma wasn't fragile, she was manipulative. You weren't too independent. You were surviving. I'm proud of what you've become, even though I have no right to be. We got the daughter we deserved in Emma, and we lost the daughter we never deserved in you. Be happy. Be free. Forget us. I crumpled the letter and threw it away. But that night, I instructed my lawyer to pay their rent for 1 year, not for them, but to close that chapter completely. No contact, no thanks needed, just a final goodbye. My Aunt Sarah asked me once if I regretted cutting them off completely. No, I answered honestly. In another life, I spent years trying to earn their love. I sacrificed everything for scraps of affection that never came. They taught me that family isn't blood, it's choice. They chose Emma. I chose myself. And if you could do it all over again, I thought of my rebirth, of the second chance I had been given. I'd make the same choice sooner. 10 years after graduation, I stood in my office overlooking Manhattan. My company was worth $50 billion. Jennifer was happily married with 2 kids who called me Aunt Madison. I had founded a scholarship program for students escaping abusive families, having helped hundreds escape situations like mine. My phone buzzed with a news alert: local woman arrested in elder abuse case. It was Emma. She had been caught stealing from the nursing home where she worked. The article mentioned she was estranged from her family, her parents having disowned her after years of exploitation. The irony wasn't lost on me. They had finally seen Emma for what she was, but only after she had destroyed them. They had learned the lesson too late. When you choose the wrong child, you lose them both. I turned off my phone and looked at the wall of my office. My Harvard diploma hung there, surrounded by awards, honors, and achievements they said I'd never earn. Next to it was a photo from my wedding. Jennifer as my maid of honor, Aunt Sarah walking me down the aisle, surrounded by the family I had chosen. My husband knocked on the door. Ready for dinner? Your aunt is already at the restaurant. Almost. I took one last look at the diploma, remembering the day they told me to decline Harvard. The day they chose Emma's ego over my education. The day I chose myself over their dysfunction. Actually, I said, turning to him with a smile, I'm ready. As we left my office, I thought about the letter I had hidden in my drawer all those years. And go, the Harvard acceptance that had changed everything. They had begged to see it after that phone call, but I had never shown them. Some victories are sweeter when they're private, when the people who doubted you can only imagine what they lost. The girl who had been reborn with memories of a failed life had become a woman who succeeded beyond anyone's dreams. The family who had thrown her away for a toxic sister now lived with the consequences of their choice. And somewhere in a prison cell, Emma sat alone, finally facing the reality that being the chosen one meant nothing if you chose to be nothing. Justice isn't always about revenge. Sometimes it's about living so well that those who hurt you become footnotes in your success story. My parents had wanted me to fail without them. Instead, I had built an empire while they crumbled into dust. As my husband and I walked out into the New York night, heading toward dinner with my real family, I thought I heard something in the wind, maybe an echo from another life, a whisper of what could have been if I had stayed, if I had let them break me, if I had never hidden that Harvard letter. But that was another life, another Madison who died alone and unloved. This Madison had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the best family is the one that isn't family at all. Sometimes the best revenge is not needing revenge because you're too busy living your best life. And as the city lights sparkled around us like earthbound stars, I knew that my rebirth had given me more than knowledge of the future. It had given me the courage to claim it.